I'm going to light one up here.
Shoot, okay.
Michelle, welcome to the Art of Human Maintenance.
Yes,
Thank you
welcome.
for having me.
We're happy you're here.
Super honored to be a part of this. This is incredible. Even just the ride coming up here just lifted a lot of weight off my shoulder. I was like, ooh, getting lost in the mountains.
You came in a good time too. You came in the early evening. It's a little cooler.
It is.
Yeah.
Isn't Topanga the best though?
I pass through it often, but I don't stop in. So
Oh, well,
it's
now you
nice
know where we are.
I
So
know.
it's nice to park.
how far off did you go? You went up the hill. Did you get all the way up to Tuna Canyon?
I've done tuna a couple times. I haven't.
I
done it
mean,
recently.
tonight on your way
Oh,
here.
tonight. That'd be cool. Take a detour. No, I wanted to make sure that I came in a timely manner. So it's like, by the way, guys, I'm taking a half-hour detour through the canyon, so I'll see you in a bit.
Listen, we wouldn't blame
I wouldn't
you.
be mad at you. I would encourage that.
She's a pro. She rides. Do you have a car?
I do now. So I was out of a car for about 5.5 years.
Oh wow.
When I moved out here in July of 2017, on my way to my apartment for my niece's birthday, back to LA, I rear-ended a vehicle.
You did.
Yeah. So I was out of commission for 5.5 years, but within like months, my parents were really sad because they couldn't see me as often. They're in San Diego. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm tired of using public transportation for 6 months. 3 hours of getting to and from Santa Monica to Rampart Village was just a pain. So
Yeah, it's a lot.
at that point I was like, all right, this is it. I'm getting a motorcycle.
Los Angeles. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, is your whole family in San Diego?
Yeah, I was born and raised there.
Okay, what part?
South of San Diego, like Otay Mesa. So it's east of Imperial Beach.
Okay,
You
cool.
could see
Here's something.
you could see TJ in my parents' backyard. Giant
Wow, that's
Mexican flag
Yeah.
waving. So they're like a stone throw away from the border.
That's very cool.
It's right there. That is very cool. Awesome.
I forgot what I was going to ask you.
You said you were saying Los Angeles something.
Oh, it's a terrible place to have to rely on public transportation.
Oh yeah, no. It's
The most complicated.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've only, I did it a couple of times when my daughter was in high school, just to understand what her journey was going to be. Like we lived in Hollywood, and she would go to North Hollywood she wanted to go to this specific school, and I was working in the film industry at the time, and the hours that I worked, I couldn't take her. But we had to arm wrestle about it, and she got what she wanted. But it was really gnarly knowing that my kid was getting up, 6 a.m., hopping on public transportation in the middle, because we lived in Hollywood at the time. We were in West Hollywood. So she'd literally have to go to Hollywood and Highland. Yeah. And like the things that she
crazy.
saw just on her way to school in the morning was pretty rough. And she had a story, not to go too far off, but one day she told me there was a homeless person that had collapsed on the escalator and no one would help them. So she did.
awful.
They were literally getting eaten by the escalator.
Oh, that's one of my fears.
It's
Like to see
dreadful.
that is one of my fears. Like to watch that happen. And you know what I mean?
She was like, I can't. And she helped this person and called 911. And I was like, okay, we got to rethink. Like, you can't start your day like that. Thank you. That's wonderful that you are a good human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can't sleep at night now, knowing you're experiencing, like, we don't live in a third world country. You shouldn't be seeing such tragic shit on your way to school. It's hard enough to get. She's not a morning person in the first place. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough of that.
Like
Little
just
tangent.
the bus and the train, there have been several incidents where people wouldn't decide. They will on purpose. They'll just kind of hang off the edge of the door and like further delay the stop. It's like you got one arm out the door, you have one foot out the door. Like, are you out? Are you in? are we going, or are you just going to hold us up for 5 more minutes?
Oh,
Because
God.
you can't decide whether you're staying on the bus or not.
Or they're holding it for a friend or something. That's
No.
oh,
They're just holding it.
oh.
They were just holding
Just to be
it.
a nuisance?
I think they like to do that on purpose.
That's
Like,
great.
Oh, I'm sure you've seen everything.
People,
The thing that really got me is the sensory overload, the smells. There was some gnarly smells.
There's enough of that to go around for sure. LA has tons of little smells and things that you didn't even know you could smell.
Yeah. There's some issues there. So anyway,
Yeah.
we're glad that you're on 2 wheels now and not on public transportation.
yeah, 6 months of that, I had enough, but
That's a
it
lot,
did
yeah.
allow me to navigate around LA and just
Really get to know
map it
in a
out.
new
Yeah,
way.
just kind of understand the grid and how it
Mhm.
operates. And in case, I've walked, I've ride a bicycle, I've taken public transportation to the point where I was content with getting lost in the city.
Nice.
Like I would get lost in the city and get off stops just on purpose, just to figure out a way to get back home
Sure.
love
and
that.
just navigate my way around the city.
Pretty cool.
So when I finally got my motorcycle and like passing through these areas, I was like, wow, I don't have to sit and wait on a bus for 20 minutes anymore. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do that sometimes on the bike too. I'll just go. I won't use GPS and I'll just cruise around and see what I see.
Yeah.
Learn little back ways to things or whatever. It's kind of cool.
I did that last week a couple times. I got home from a ride from like a meeting or whatever, and instead of parking the bike, I just like decided to just take the mountains without any sort of agenda of any kind, and I just ended up in cool neighborhoods and was like just adventuring. And
Yeah.
I love doing that. I don't do that anymore.
No, and I think
know.
you're less inclined to do it in a car.
Oh yeah.
You know, in your
Yeah.
in your own town, you're less inclined to do that in a car. I would assume. I am.
Yeah, sometimes I'll go like house watch in my car, like just see like cool houses that like
Yeah.
inspire me or whatever. But on the bike, you can really like, on the GS especially, because you can go hit trails, you can like just do whatever with it, and it's all fair game. So it's just a whole different category. Like you said, it's a different animal than being in a car. You get on a bike and like you want to keep going. There's a reason to keep going. I don't know.
And it's a sensory
Yeah.
delight to
Yeah.
be on a bike. You don't just see things differently. You smell things differently.
Mm-hmm.
You notice, more. You notice the cracks in the road. You notice
Yeah.
tree roots pop in the cement, like that kind of stuff. My favorite, and we'll move on from this in a second after I burn the house down. My favorite is North Hollywood, where the streets have literally melted and warped
Oh,
into
yeah.
like grooves.
Yeah.
It's on your road a little bit on the way up here. There's a few of those little like where like the mountains moved and it stretched the road and it's like a divot now. It's crazy.
On my street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming up.
I actually, it's so funny that you said that because we have a Valley View group text for emergency or whatever. And I said that the other day. I'm like, you guys, is anyone noticing these potential sinkholes like happening? Like there's 2 now that didn't used to be there. It's just totally smooth. And it's only on my mind because one, sinkholes are a nightmare to me. Like how terrifying
it's
is
terrifying,
that?
yeah.
Like you're just
Yeah.
eaten up by the earth with no warning. And 2, there's one that happened on Fernwood not that long ago because of all the rains that we've had the last couple years, especially just this last winter. Craziness. It's all shifting. So anyway, New Orleans is really gnarly for sinkholes. It's really bad there. They even have a page called check out this fucking street or something like that. It's like, or
They would.
something along
They would
those
have
lines,
that.
like how fucked up is this
Yeah.
street? And people just post. They have one sinkhole there that people actually threw a party in. They put floaters, the inner tubes.
Oh my
and like,
God.
couldn't pay me to get in that water. Like those
I
guys
would
are
do it.
really doing it for the gram there. I don't know.
I want to check before we start. I want to check one thing.
'Kay.
Rotate your. Let's just copy this.
Am I too loud?
No. Oh, flat. Okay, not flat there. 18 and bypass. I'm gonna copy yours. You're on bypass. 18.
See, I would never know to do any of that.
Here.
He's the pro.
You're talking at some point quieter than she is, and she's getting that audio duck I keep hearing. I don't want that. You know what I'm talking about? Where like it does the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. See, you caught yourself. Thank you. My bad.
This thing is freaking me out, man. It's so wobbly, Ben.
I know they have to take care of it. We'll get on that. Okay.
All right. So I did want to ask you, though, since we were talking about how you finally got a motorcycle, how long have you been riding?
I've been riding for over a decade now.
Oh, okay.
So I took the course in 2014. Originally took the class, passed the class. My family didn't approve of it.
Yeah, what inspired it?
Naturally.
Yeah,
Most
of course. Well, I'm the baby of 3 children, so my parents are like, "Oh, our precious baby, she's gonna go out into the world and do wheelies into the sunset." But no, not really.
Don't lie.
One day. But when I started, I didn't enjoy being a passenger. And I feel like being a passenger, sometimes I get motion sickness. So I really, like, even being a passenger behind another person, I was like, it's cool and all to hold someone and see you around, but I want to do my own thing, and I want to be in control, and I want to be in charge, and I want to feel what it's like to operate and manipulate it and, turn with the bike, not just me leaning into someone else or like bumping into someone else's helmet as they're like stopping very
Oh
hard.
my God, that's such
Yeah.
it's annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
For both people, it's annoying.
So does this all add up to the fact that you dated somebody who was riding, or?
I did a long time ago. We were really good friends, and when I decided to, when I moved out to LA, and then I finally decided that I wanted a motorcycle, I didn't tell my family. I had to keep it secret.
Not a girl. That's how you do it.
I
But
think you did that too.
I did that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
in 2014, I took the class and I was ready to take the exam, but I didn't take the exam because my family didn't want me to. So in 2017, I was ready.
Like, I can't hold it back any longer.
I was like, nothing's stopping me now. So I took the class again, passed the course, went straight to Santa Monica DMV, passed the exam, hopped on the train, went to San Diego, went straight to my friend's shop, picked up a bike, picked up a Harley, rode it straight. I didn't even test ride the bike.
Your first bike was a Harley?
Yeah, it was an 883 iron.
Oh, those are so cute.
Yeah,
They're so fun.
I couldn't afford a Triumph Thruxton at the time, so I was like, "What's the lowest you could give me on 2 wheels? Like, I just need anything at this point." And my friend just told me, "Hey, we could get you a Harley." I was like, "I'll take it. It's got 2 wheels. Like, let's do it."
Yeah, why not? Why not?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I picked it up, rode it, dropped it on my way to work. So it was a bit of a whirlwind of just
Yeah.
me.
Oh, same day? Dropped it same day?
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, train ride to San Diego, picked up the bike, dropped the bike, rode it to LA, then dropped the bike on my way to work that evening. And I was like, well, we got that out of the way. It's officially mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that's great. Jeez. I get like such like, what do you call? Like I get stressed out before I buy something, And
You
sometimes
get buyer's anxiety.
I get buyer's anxiety, and sometimes I'll get buyer's remorse. Like, I rushed it. I went too, I'll have that. So I applaud that you just went and just did it. That's so cool. I'm a little jealous of that.
I've ridden.
I think that's your rhythm, though. You're kind of a conscious person in that way. Like you're very sort of planned. I don't know.
Sometimes.
I can't find my words around it, but it's definitely part of your rhythm.
Interesting.
Yeah. You're just very thoughtful with how you do things. I'm learning. We're learning each other.
Yeah.
Hey,
We're spending a lot of time together
Yeah.
lately.
Lots of time.
first bike. What did you both have?
Oh, I was a baby. I was 5 years old. So
Nice.
I was a little 50. I think a 50 probably was my second bike. What's below a 50 when you're,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't even remember. Is there a 25? A Honda?
No. I think 50 is the
it's
smallest.
XR50 is the smallest, right?
Yeah.
That's the first memory I have is a XR50.
That's the lowest bike without a clutch.
yeah.
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 All the way down is neutral, and then that's the first like. Yeah.
And I remember getting on it and my dad, being over my shoulders and showing me, to roll the throttle. And the bike took off and my legs didn't, but my arms did.
Sweet.
And I went
Superman.
right into a fence, and I just went straight to a fence, and I was like, okay, can we do it again? Like I
You
was
just fell in love with
hooked
it.
from the minute. He was my hero. So, anything he did, I had to do.
Yeah.
And that never changed. Like I was chasing him all through growing up on a bike, trying to keep up with him and his friends, riding coal piles in Eastern Washington and power lines and floating down rivers on the big fat, the first 3-wheelers that came out, the 90, I think it was a Honda AT, is it called an ATV? 90?
A 90.
It was a 90, the size, yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I grew up on bikes. So my first street bike, though, was when I first moved to Hawaii. I had just graduated high school and beauty school at the same time.
Nice.
And I got a Katana 600 because my name was on it.
There you go.
And I was like, how could I not?
Yeah.
I had to.
That's
But do you know
amazing.
those things are pigs? They're super top heavy.
Yeah.
Have you ridden one?
I've only ridden one down the street.
Yeah.
It wasn't real riding.
Yeah, it's super top heavy. It's a strange weight distribution on that bike. Wasn't my favorite, but
Yeah.
you don't know when it's your first, and
No.
you just make it work.
Yeah, make
Exactly.
it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, my 883 iron was way too bottom heavy for me. So
Mhm.
They're so cute, though. Such a cute bike.
definitely had to strengthen up just to maneuver that thing, and even taking it off road and the challenges of articulating it through like roads that don't have pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
So you didn't do any dirt bike riding,
I didn't have a background of dirt bike riding.
Yeah.
It was just more like me taking my bikes off pavement and
Yeah,
then figuring
figuring
it out.
That's great though. You found a way to it. Like I grew up on dirt bikes too. That's how I rode 50s, and then I rode 125s and 250s and 350s and then 450s, and just kind of went up through the ranks of it. I went to a camp growing up. It was called Cottontail Ranch, and like actually kind of close to here. And they had all these things you could do. You can go do archery, you can go do horses, you could do this, and they had dirt
That's
bikes.
fun.
That's amazing.
And you pick what you want to do for the day, and they sign you up and you go do it. And every single day for like 3 years, I did dirt biking. I learned how to dirt bike, and I became like obsessed with it. And then all my energy went into getting a dirt bike somehow, and that's
Yeah.
all I wanted. And then, but that to me is the best way to learn dirt bikes.
It is, yeah.
It gets your decision making like muscle. It builds it for like pivoting. So when you get to the road, it feels easy.
That's
Yeah,
how I
right?
felt about
Totally.
it too.
Yeah.
That's how I fell in love with street bikes. It just was so easy after dirt biking. Like, but it really, really, really trains you for the street. Like,
Yeah.
you have to pay attention to every little detail. If it's a pothole, if it's a squirrel, if it's a tree root, if it's whatever, a jagged rock, like it's the same as on the street. You have to be super focused. It teaches you to stand up and not
Absorb
take
it.
the impact of a pothole in your spine. Like that's why you see me stand up all the time. It's just muscle memory. Like it's either that or my body needs to stretch. But mostly it's like I see a bump, I want to stand up. Even if it's a little bump, I'm like, oh, that was silly. But it's just
No, it's
none of it.
It's muscle memory.
Yeah, it's total, and it's
Yeah.
why I always had great legs my whole life, because I was always sitting, you know. But I think that like it's the first thing I tell people that say they want to learn to ride, like get on that dirt because it's made to drop. That bike is
Yeah.
made
Oh,
to
they're
drop
indestructible.
And they're
get
light.
back up.
They're
yeah,
light.
it's so different than dropping your street bike. Like
Oh,
don't
yeah.
just
Very
get
different.
out on the street.
That's the hard. Like when I'll do adventure rides with my friends, and we'll take the GSs out, and just like a crew of us, we have like almost all GSs and a couple like
That's
dirt
so
bikes and
fun.
stuff. But if you lay down a GS, picking a GS up in the middle of the mountains and like loose sandy,
It's a lot of work.
it's insane.
It's a lot of work.
It's really, really heavy. So it's like a whole different ball game with that kind of stuff. So yeah, start light, quick bikes, dirt bikes. Start with that, and you'll just be I mean, that's the greatest.
You,
It's
you
the
learn
greatest.
what you're made of, you know, in a lot of ways. You learn what you're made of once you start dropping that thing and
Yeah.
feeling a little bump and a bruise here and there. And like, okay, I can handle that. I can handle, oh, that one sucked like that. Oh, I don't want to do that again. Like
Yeah.
you learn. And I think it's really similar. It's a need, that similar skill when you transfer it to street, just because no one knows you're there.
That's true.
You're the only one that knows you're there.
Yeah.
I had to transition from learning road track riding at high speeds and transition that to dirt riding. So within the past couple of months, I've focused on learning how to ride dirt off-road, motocross, enduro training, because crashing in dirt is way more softer than it is on pavement. And so
Oh, yeah.
after that, being able, and also, like I mentioned previously, I've taken my bike like off-roading. I have a R9T, and so the BMW R9T.
Sister.
Love those bikes.
So I've taken it off-road and like through dirt, gravel, like everything off-road. And when I went motorcycle camping in Baja, in like San Pedro Martir, which is like southeast of Ensenada, I noticed they just do racing out there recently, which looks
cool.
really cool.
I want to do that. That sounds
But
awesome.
yeah, when I took the bike out there, I had to transition my muscles to like integrate like operating my bike through soft sand.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's intense.
Whole different ball game.
Yeah, and when I've taken my bike to like Joshua Tree, there's like soft sand turn areas, and it allowed me to understand articulating through soft sand where I'm no longer in a panic and I'm like flinching and like trying to grab the brakes. It's more like
Tensing up.
yeah. So
Do you have knobbies on your bike 24/7? You just went out with your road tires and just did that. What'd you do?
I did not have knobbies on
I don't
my
know.
bike.
There's some people have them on like 24. Like my buddy has a GS and he has 7,000 mile tires and they're knobbies and that's all he uses. So he can go because taking them off and switching them out is a bitch.
It's a bitch,
It's-
for
yeah, it's a
sure.
It's a
pain.
bitch. It's annoying.
But
so
you don't often take 9Ts in the dirt. So
No, you
having
don't,
them on
no.
24/7
it's cool though.
Yeah,
It's really not good for gas mileage. That's for sure.
At that point, yeah, it's not,
I
yeah, just go do it.
Like
Jesus.
when my two friends got married last October and they had their wedding in Baja. So in wine country in Baja, I'm not sure if you've been out there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's all dirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all dirt roads. So figure it out if you don't know how to ride in dirt, but it's not soft.
It's hard packed, right?
It is hard
Yeah,
packed.
yeah.
There may be a couple places here and there where you could get squiggly, but it's not advanced to where you're like, you got to be standing up the entire time.
And leaning back and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
You're a phenomenal rider, though. I'm really impressed by you and hearing this story of when you started, how you started. Like you're really, I've never done the track. Actually, no.
You gotta do
With BMW, I did the track when they trained us.
Nice. Where at?
But-
Was it
but-
South Carolina or?
Yeah, at the Performance Center.
Very cool.
That's what
How'd
it's
you like
called,
it?
right? Yeah. It was great, super fun. But it wasn't, we were learning baggers and comparing them to the R18. So it wasn't
That sounds like fun regardless.
it was so fun. It was, I mean, we were all just on a high
Super
that,
jealous
that
of
we
that.
got this experience, right? Like
So cool.
it was really the coolest experience ever. Really the coolest, probably the best, funnest job I've ever had.
You said when she was on her way here and you said what time she was showing up, you said she was riding here and she's like, no, she's a badass rider. And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know what that meant, but just seeing your photo alone was so cool. Like how low you were down and like just your form and your stance and the whole thing. Can we put a photo of that up later? Will you send it to me and I'll put it on
Yeah, absolutely.
people at home to see that? It's so cool.
That's
was
like
a great
the
shot.
only
Well, it's
track.
on her Insta if you want to pull it up.
Oh yeah. I gotta be careful here. This is gonna block your face. Oh, there we go.
We need
Oh,
to
we're good.
block my face now
Oh.
and then.
Agreed.
I get tired of it.
You had too
Come
long of an absence from social media. We need more of your face.
Oh, honey.
Agreed.
The love. My God, the love has been amazing. What a wild birthday I just had. Like, it was just so lively on social media. Just everybody just was like, oh my God, it's still, even now I'm still getting messages. And it was
'Cause we
5 days
love
ago.
you.
Thank you, honey. I love you too. I'm
What's
so
your
glad you're
Instagram?
here.
It's MCHELLES World.
Michelle's World.
Got you. There it is. God, it's
So
so cool.
she's got the 719, right? Have you seen it's the,
The option 719.
I have it. It's still a boxer engine. It's still an R9T.
yeah, but 719 is my birthday.
Oh.
So every time I see that bike, I'm like, am I supposed to have that bike? Am I supposed to have the 719? But I love my bike too much. I can't switch it up.
I absolutely love your bike. You got to take it to the track sometime.
I know I do. I think I'm shy because I've never really, I feel like people would have expectations of me
Absolutely not.
because of the bike I'm riding.
If you show up for the first time, everyone's going to be like, heck yeah, I got another boxer out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But then it throws people off guard because there's a sea of like sports bikes out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's me like passing by. They're like, what the?
Yeah.
Doing like double takes. Like,
Yeah,
who the
because
heck
you're
is
a
that?
fucking beast, man. So is it nerve wracking, like trying to learn golf on how a golf course is run, and like you're just not welcome as a newbie? Do you know what I mean?
So that's funny you mentioned that because when I was a general manager previously in my last career, I helped my friend open a restaurant on the golf course. So
Wow.
but this was during quarantine, like in 2020, and me being new to the sport, there were women that were performing and like outperforming a lot of men on the course and beating them. So I figured I always gravitated towards like the winners or like the leaders. I'm like, if this person's beating everyone playing golf right now, like I need to learn from her.
Learn from them.
But I
yeah.
apply that with everything I learn, whether it's golf, riding on the track. Right now, I'm taking classes at Moto Ventures, all dirt bike riding for adventure riders. They're enduro trials. Right across the street, there's Kahila motocross track. So I was also getting some training on the motocross track as well. So
Very fun.
I know I was kind of bouncing around between the golf course and learning golf and dirt bike riding, but yeah, it could be nerve-wracking at first because you're like, kind of get shy. You're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but
Well, just people. The thing is, you don't want to be in people's way. Like you understand that when they're there on the track.
oh yeah,
Is that my dog barking?
I don't know. I couldn't tell if that was Trip or not. Does it sound like her?
No.
No, it sounds like it's over here, like down there.
Yeah, no, that's not her.
Okay, cool.
The coyotes are probably out. It'll get everyone singing soon. I know, like, I say like too much. I'm trying to work on that. I don't want to be the one bumming someone's trip on their big day at the track. Is that me? That was my hair.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm having
so
all
there's
kinds of
different
fun over here.
levels when you go to the track.
Okay, so
So
they would
there's
put me in the
beginner,
Pee-wee
intermediate.
section. Okay.
It's like that at the motocross track. I was out there with
No, you got it.
little peewee riders just flying by me on their 50s.
That's the thing. You have to find a place where you feel free to let your freak flag fly. Like, this
Absolutely.
is me. Right now, I'm a baby at this, and I want to be a baby at it and learn from you guys, but I don't want to get in your way.
You won't be if you
And
have the
have-
guidance of an instructor.
Okay.
Because the purpose of the instructor is for them to make sure you develop that confidence and understand how the track works, how to navigate through it, how to articulate whether you're like stopping or you're, whether you're closer inside or outside of the turn, how to navigate through the track
Yeah.
overall. So
Breaking points and all those
Exactly.
the little things.
because it's one thing to just take someone on the track and just be like, hey, go for it.
Oh God, no.
That's not how it works. So I always try to seek guidance from an instructor that will help me determine what I can improve with myself. And they'll also fine tune me where they could help me hone into my own personal craft. And they'll recognize things of like signs of nervousness, or they're like, hey, you're tapping your foot, or hey, you need to bring your butt like just a little bit further off the seat, or make little fine adjustments. But just getting out there takes a lot of courage. So that's all it takes.
Yeah,
if you make your way out there and you go to track, you show up.
Yeah, just show up, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're learning way more than any person that's been doing street for decades.
I think part of my shyness around it is that I did start at 5 years old riding. And through having this community and new riders around me, I've learned I don't know the fundamentals in words. I know it in action.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So when we started teaching people how to ride, I was having a hard time figuring out how to explain it to them because I didn't learn like that. I didn't learn from a book. I learned from feel.
Yeah.
So I wonder if I'm going to be able to translate somebody giving me direction into physical, the movement of it. I'll do it. I'll try.
What's really cool about instruction on the track, though, is that they could be explaining part-time, but most of the time it's you following them or them following you on the
So
track.
you pay
I was just
attention.
going to ask
Yeah.
if someone follow you.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
so when you do a lead follow on the track, they're directing you like, hey, you could come a little bit further to the right or a little bit to the left, or you're braking a bit early, or you could brake a little bit later.
And you're on a comm system. You have helmets and you're communicating.
You're not, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm actually integrating Cardo's devices for when I return to Moto Ventures for my dirt bike training,
Nice.
because I think it's important to have that feedback in real time.
Totally.
For someone to tell you as you're going through a turn, like, hey, you could get a little bit tighter, or like lay off the brakes, but at the track, on the other hand, it would make a really good tool. However, the lead follow is probably most sufficient, because some trainers will record you while you're riding with them, and then they'll break everything down and sit down and just be like,
So you can
talk
at least
you through
see
it.
what you're doing because
Exactly.
they record it. Okay.
Yeah.
That
But-
checks out. That makes sense. If
But
you have that.
each instructor is different. They use multiple tools to instruct. So it's not just them like talking to you for like a half hour and then, okay, just do what I told you.
Right.
I
Go
could
for it.
Retain that, please.
I could not.
Yeah, right.
I could not handle that if we had to go out and then come back and they give me instructions like, no, do this instead on turn 8. Do this, and
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna forget what you said in turn 1. Like,
I don't even know
Yeah,
what I
and
did on
and
turn 8. How do I?
It's way too much of an overloaded of information for
Yeah.
you to even digest which turn is which and identify it.
exactly.
So-
No, I think it's super helpful to have, and I've seen really cool tools come out. Like I've seen like they have, in some cars they have head-up display. They have that now in headphones where they can preload stuff and you can see it aligns the track and it puts it in. So when you're going, it tells you. Some racing video games will have like the racing line, and it'll tell you when it's green or red. It's like that's your braking line, and you follow the line. It has that now built into the headphones.
In the helmet?
Yes. Oh, the headphones. Sorry. Yes, the helmet. It has
Yeah.
that built in,
I've
which is
seen that.
so cool.
Yeah.
And then
Crazy.
other tools that are cool is like 360 cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put one in the front, one in the back. You can zoom out and see the line you're taking, when you're shifting, when you're hitting the brake, like all that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's come a long way.
We all learn so differently.
Yeah.
I would think that a really on point instructor would be able to maneuver to how you learn. They would recognize it right away.
Absolutely.
And it's such a risky game that's important that you have a good instructor that accommodate like meets you where you are, right? And then pivots with you. Okay, this person isn't going to retain that information, but if they follow me and I show them, that's how I see their learning. Or if, like all the things you just said. So
It's also-
I'm actually getting kind of amped to come play with you on the track.
I would go do it too.
You'd
That'd
be
be
amazing.
awesome. I would
You're
love to
a
go do it.
phenomenal rider.
Oh, thank you. I would love
Except
to go
when
do
we'll
you
that.
just
Drop
record an
my
episode
bike.
on the track to see everyone's reactions.
Yeah, I'm glad that got mulled over. Let's just let that just get
Yeah.
buried. Your
Nobody
words.
knows. Nobody knows.
God. No, I'll tell it. I'll tell the story.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There are some really good riders on GSs on the track, by the way.
GSs are amazing.
They're
I mean,
so
I mean,
if you know
GSs
it's a 1200 6-speed, and if you know what you're doing, it leans like a sport bike.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get low with that bike, and you can change the suspension to get even higher to get lower. So
it's not
amazing.
you. It's Mickey. Mickey owns a GS.
She had an 850.
Yeah. Okay.
She sold it for a dirt bike.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. That's why I got the GS, because I was like, that's not my style of bike. I wanted honestly a sport bike, I wanted like a full on.
He wanted my bike.
I wanted your bike, but if I was ready to go blow the cash, I wanted like an all blacked out BMW 1000 RR. I wanted like it's just a pretty bike.
Triple black.
The eyes are so pretty on it. It's just a great looking bike, and I wanted to that's what I wanted. But like I thought about it, I was like, I want to get a bike I can go touring with. I want to get a dirt bike. And that bike is literally both.
It's so versatile.
You can hit the mountains, you can hit the canyons, you can hit the racetrack, dirt biking, all of it. Rivers, like it does everything.
It's also like our production vehicle too. We can carry all this podcast gear on that bike. Not on mine, but on his we can.
Yeah.
I love her bike. I have a huge crush on her bike. It is like
so
my hot little girlfriend. I love her bike so much.
Are you going to tell the story now?
Tell the story? Yeah. There was a period of time where she was gracious enough to let me borrow that bike and ride it. I mean,
it was when I was working for BMW. So it was sitting here.
It was sitting there, and my bike was in the shop, and they were going to have it for a while. And so I hit her up and I was like, hey, like if your bike's just sitting there, I'd love to take it out and ride it, and I'll give you really great content of it. I'll give you, because I'm a photographer and I would shoot it for her. And she was like surprisingly cool about it. She was really cool about it.
No, but so Ben's been so gracious with a quest called Tribe. All these, like that's how I know him. One of the girls introduced us, their childhood friends, and he's always done all of our videography and all of that. Like just really a great guy. He's a great guy. So just anybody can take my bike, but. And you were literally the first and the last after you hear this story.
Yeah, so I was taking it to go shoot it. So we took it. I put it in the back of my truck. We rode out to Angeles National Forest, and we got our cameras out. And we were shooting it the whole day, right? And I've loaded hundreds of bikes, hundreds of times in the back of trucks. Never had an issue. So we're gonna head out, and I was conscious not to put miles in the bike, so I wanted to load it back up and then drive it home. So I was going up. And
no, it was snow. I thought that's why you loaded it, because it was snowing. You were at like
partially, but I also didn't want to put miles on it for that reason. Yeah. So I was going to load it up, and I put the ramp out. And I was all set up, and I'm like in rhythm, just doing what I always do. And the bike is very throaty. And
oh yeah.
And oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Wait, do it. Oh yeah.
That's too much. Oh wow. Sorry.
What's happening?
And we're back.
Clap.
And so I'm going up, and I'm just inching up, and I'm pulling the throttle to kind of keep it going up, and I hear and it pops, and so the throttle. And you pull, nothing was there.
Pipes, right?
Her pipes. So the pipes would, when I did it, it did that. It popped. It didn't like, it went pop, and then I lost throttle. So in that moment, I was like, holy shit! I lost control. I lost power on the bike, and I was walking it up. So right when that happened, it went down and back, and I was completely not prepared for that moment. I didn't have my legs spread a certain way to balance that. I was just going up like I normally do, walking it up into the truck like you would. And that moment was the oh shit moment, and we both fell off. And the buck and I both fell off the truck, and we ate shit together. It was cute. It was nice. And I was gut wrenched having to make that phone call and tell her. And I held it for a couple of days. I was like, I got to just sit with this, because the bike's just sitting in the garage. I'm not riding it. I'm just sitting there. And I have to tell her this. And like, it was the worst thing to have to deliver to her. It was terrible.
I definitely had a similar incident.
Yeah, I was pretty just kind of like, what? You know, like, because you're honestly the only one that's ever dropped it.
Yeah.
I did. Actually, that's not true. I dropped it. On one of our full moon rides. Did you ever make it to one of our full moon rides back in the day?
I haven't.
We're going to start them up again. You'll have to join us.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And now that you know where I am, you're welcome to like crash over if your place is far. I don't know where you live, but
I'm in Glendale.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Angeles Crest is like less than 10 minutes away from me.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's so crowded though. Anyway, so
that's true.
One of the girls, we were trying to set up a full moon shot, a picture, and we were on a hill. It was a hill that we all had to climb, and it was one of our bigger turnouts. It was probably like 30 bikes maybe.
Wow.
And one of the girls had just moved here from Chicago. D, do you know D?
Sounds familiar.
D.
Is she in
she's
Joshua Tree now?
I don't know. She has a schoolie. And she's a nurse. She started
Okay.
our tribe moto not that long ago, but it didn't really
I
last.
haven't met her yet.
Okay, anyway, she's rad. She's a rad chick. But so she pulls up on her Harley, and I was kind of art directing people to, line the bikes for the big full moon shot, and it's an epic shot. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if basically she dropped her bike. And so I threw down my kickstand and got off to help her. And I think I had my leathers on, my chaps, something caught on the foot peg. And my bike went over. I'd like jump off and my bike, I was like, what?
No.
This doesn't make any sense. But nothing happened. I have crash bars on it. So nothing happened. But that was the only time.
Yeah. That was the only
mine
time.
didn't do any damage. Yours did.
Mine
some
did a little damage. Yeah. That was the first time I ever dropped a bike ever. And of course it was yours. It was one of those moments.
I didn't know him as a rider very well at that point because the only time I ever saw him, then he was filming us. So he was driving or he was hanging out the back of a truck or something. Like I never really saw him ride. He rode with us every now and then, very rarely.
Yeah.
Super busy, whatever. So I was like, shit, who the fuck did I give my bike to? You know what I mean? I totally was just like, bro, if you've never loaded a bike before, why are you loading my, like, I thought you were going to ride it. Like I had that kind of a.
I knew your head would go there and I was so mad already because I'm so like conscious when I'm loading and I'm so like, I've done it so many times. It's like muscle memory.
Well, you're just such a stand-up guy too. I know that gutted you
devastated
for sure.
me. Oh, it devastated me. It was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
But I realized at that moment, I'm like, I don't even know what his skill level is. Like, I just gave him my bike. And I've come to learn you're a phenomenal rider. You really are.
Thank you.
You're a great rider. We have a good time.
We do.
Because as a group, when we ride as a group, there's a speed limit that, and I don't know if you've ridden with me, but I don't always like to stay in that little group speed limit. And Ben relates to that. So when we get out, we kind of terrorize and have fun and cut loose, and he can handle his own for sure.
I'm usually at warp speed when I'm riding. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I don't lie. I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you.
I don't do group rides very often, but your incident, your
tough.
loading incident, dropping, it reminded me of last December when my friend was kind enough to loan me his S1000RR for a women's track day at Chuckwalla.
It's the bike I want.
And I'm actually taking one out on Saturday.
On the track.
You hate me.
A little bit.
Just come.
A little bit. I'm down. I'm so down.
I'm taking one out I'm putting miles on it. It's a demo bike.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm taking it to San Diego.
We're going to chat later.
Oh,
Okay.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a chat.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
I'm taking a double R as a demo bike. So
That's great.
Amazing.
Is it from Riverside?
Mhm.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, they're like, we're making this one as a demo bike, so just put some miles on it. I'm like, okay.
Anytime.
Give them my number. Love you.
right?
Love you so much. Friends. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So my friend was kind enough to loan me. He has his track bike, and then he has his daily, which is also a double R, but a newer one. And so I was super stressed out from work at the time, and he was like, you know what? I want you to have a good time. Take my bike out. My friend will tow it out there for you. All you need to do is show up and have a good time. I was like, you're amazing.
That's so sweet.
And my friend Patrick, thank you, Patrick.
Patrick.
We love Patrick.
But I took it out there, and of course, end of the day, last session, I was getting at it. I did a one-on-one session for training. I got the suspension adjusted, so I was like, I'm riding it like I'm riding my R9T on the track. I felt so confident. I felt so good. However, like the last lap, I think I just got a little too excited and I missed turn 14. So I took it off-roading. I hit the brake too hard. I tumbled and I was like, no. So on the way back, I was like, I'm ready to make the phone call. And it just dawned on me. I was like, I can't believe this just happened. I felt so defeated. And I was like, I'm ready to just throw some money at my friend. Like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst. Like I can't believe this. I'm so careful with not only my own things, but things that don't even belong to me, let alone demo
Especially,
bikes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so he was very forgiving, and he said, you know what? That's what it's for. It's a track bike.
Yeah.
You
Give him my number.
Listen,
Jesus.
toys are made to be shared and played
Yeah.
with.
Or-
Like that's how I felt.
Well, the
Everyone's like, you loaned out your bike. You don't loan out your like there. It's my dream is to have a garage full of bikes that I can loan out.
yeah.
How fun is that to
That's
share
that's
your
fun.
toys?
I do want to point out, and I'm sure he said the same thing. The first thing you said after I did that was like, you were like, what? Are you okay? Like, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
forget the bike. Are you okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
First thing you asked,
Yeah.
you know? And I was like, God, fucking, that's just like, that's
all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And by the
your
way,
health
tell
and your
us-
safety is more
tell us
important
ab-
than
tell us
machine.
about how you were doing like during that tumble.
it was. I mean, I got covered in dirt. The bike didn't break anything. It had broken cosmetics to it,
Yeah.
but
Mostly
And you
fairings.
were
I was
fine.
covered in dirt. I had like
You had
a
your leathers
slight-
on. You were
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
fully protected. Like
Yeah.
my helmet was done, but like no concussions. I had like a slight sprain in my wrist, but that was it. Like my gear
Wow.
protected me.
That's
okay.
great.
So I think
So-
if I
great.
may,
You totally may.
this is a good segue into. You said your helmet was toast. Let's talk about your head. Let's talk
Okay.
about your
Yeah.
story. Let's get into the
Let's get
meat
into it.
of it.
Absolutely. So in 2019, I, at the time, I was managing a restaurant in downtown LA, and because I was like the first manager, I was like so prideful. I lost about 7 employees in 2 weeks.
Ooh.
So having to open and like hire, train, open and close, and select my team. Like I opened in April. A few months passed. In July, I was super stressed out, but I was eager to go on the track for the first time. So I attended a seminar at Dineza LA, and it was with Fast Track Riders and New Century BMW. They were hosting a friends and family track day, and I was so eager that I was like, all right, I'm going to buy the gear. I need a suit. I'm signing up. They're signing me up for it. Like, I'm just going to go for it and make it happen.
Shout out to New Century. I love them.
Yeah, Gigi's amazing.
Yeah.
She
And does she still
was-
have her puppy?
Yeah, Wawa.
Wawa. Yeah.
She
Okay.
built her
Great name.
racing team named after
Yeah.
Wawa.
that's
So,
awesome.
she,
Anyway.
yeah, she's like, I'm signing you up. You're coming out. I'm like, all right,
she's
here
the
we go. And all I need is a suit. She's like, I'm loaning you a suit because I want you to come out. So I made it happen. However, it was really hot, summer, July, peak of heat. Because I was dehydrated and like not getting enough rest beforehand, I got really nauseous like towards the end of the day, and I rode there at Auto Club Speedway, which just closed last year, unfortunately. But I got nauseous, threw up, and then the medics were like, "Hey, your blood pressure is really high. You should probably get checked." And I was like, "Okay, I will." And my friends were kind enough to tow me. Melissa and Dave, they towed my bike home, and I just knocked out like a rock. I was just so exhausted, and I ignored the signs. I didn't seek medical attention. I didn't go to the doctor. So a week later, I went to San Diego for my niece's graduation party. My family rented out a hall in Chula Vista, and I came out there. I set up. I got ready. So I went to the restroom momentarily, and I was discovered collapsed there. I had a ruptured brain aneurysm.
What is it called?
I had an aneurysm in my brain, so it was a
You said a word before that. Ring.
Ruptured.
ruptured.
I thought I heard you
brain.
say ring or rain or something.
It's a I
Ruptured
said
brain
I kind of
aneurysm.
like
Oh.
rolled it into one word, but
Got it.
I had a brain aneurysm.
Okay.
So The type of there's two different aneurysms. Mine, so what causes it is high blood pressure. And what the artery does, it fills up to the point where there's no more space and a balloon bulges out of the artery and it ruptures, pops, and it bleeds. So I had a brain bleed that day during my niece's birthday party. Or
How long were
graduation and birthday party.
Sorry. How long were you in there before they found you?
So I was in the restroom right before I went to the restroom. I told my cousin that I was going to go to the restroom, and once we get back, we're going to try out a wine that I hand selected for my friend's wine company for the first time. It was a Sauvignon Blanc. Didn't have a single ounce of alcohol in my body. Didn't make it back from the bathroom. My sister's friend discovered me in the restroom. I'm not sure what the timeline was when she probably within 10, 15 minutes of me being in the restroom, but I was collapsed over the bathroom sink. My sister's friend pulled my sister aside because they didn't want to cause a scene and just disrupt the party.
Of course.
But you were
make
unconscious?
a big deal. Yeah. So
That's a big deal. I'd be causing a scene.
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was gnarly.
Sorry, I don't mean
It was
to.
just I felt bad for my brother though because he was the DJ and he was the last to know, and he had to keep the party going.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, I'd be. That's the biggest deal. Anyway,
yeah, so my sister, thankfully, my sister and my brother-in-law are both ear nurses. So they took me into the back of my sister's friend's vehicle and just like threw me in, and then just drove to the nearest hospital, which is a little over a mile away, thankfully.
yeah.
And that's my brother-in-law works at the ER, so he knew the staff. And when they discovered that I needed to be expedited to the specialty neurology department, which was at another location, they had to put me into an ambulance. So during the ambulance ride, my sister just pushed my brother-in-law in there, and she said, "Hey, you got to keep her stable and make sure that she gets there safely." So
Did they have any idea at that point what was going on? They just knew you were knocked out. Had they diagnosed anything at
They
that
knew
point?
What, can you remember that question? Hold on, I need to check one thing with the camera.
Yeah, please do.
I just don't want to have an issue. I put both cameras there. I can see the reflections. They're both working fine.
Yeah.
I can see it's recording, but this one I feel like is.
Sorry, Michelle.
that's okay.
No, we're all good. Just want to make sure.
Everything's still rolling.
We're in the.
Do you want to
clear.
check your angle? Check it since you're up.
I don't matter.
You always say that. You're gonna have to stop saying that.
Yeah.
Good.
Kosher.
Excellent.
And you remember what you asked?
Yeah.
You remember? Okay. 1 second.
I don't remember what you asked.
Technical difficulties. We're back. Tanya,
fine.
go ahead.
At this
pressing.
point that you're in the ambulance, had they diagnosed anything? Did they have any idea what was going on with you?
So they discovered that I had a stroke, and I'm not sure how they determined that it was a brain bleed. They might have just quickly scanned me and noticed the rupture,
Okay.
and then expedited me
took
to
you
the
to-
other hospital.
Got it.
But during that, I had no recollection of it. So the last thing that I remembered was being placed in the car and just having a really excruciating headache. So one of the signs, because there was a rupture, it popped, and it was bleeding, is that it's known to be like a really like bad headache. So I remember I was like holding my head and just saying like, "Oh, it hurts." But then after that, 2 weeks pass. I was under, they put me under drugs for a couple weeks to keep me stabilized, ran some tests. But within those 2 weeks, I had no recollection of who visited me, which doctors saw me, how many nurses were there, anything. So that was really, it gave me a lot of anxiety afterwards, knowing that I wake up 2 weeks later, unsure of what happened to me, how many doctors saw me or whatever. Like I had PTSD receiving hospital bills because I wasn't sure, like, so
Yeah.
who saw me within the first 2 weeks? Who knows?
Was somebody advocating for you? Your family must have been at your side.
So the crazy part about the whole entire situation was that my father was scheduled for triple bypass surgery
Oh.
a few days after I was hospitalized. So it was just kind of like a huge double whammy for my family. My dad was in the Veterans Hospital. I was not too far away. And
Coyotes are back. Sorry. You can't go out there. She's mad. She's like, but Mom, the coyote.
She got a voice on her. She
She's going to tell Cousin Will. Tell him. Go tell him. Look at her. My dog is so funny. I love her so much. She's so smart.
I swear she knows English sometimes.
The boys joke that she speaks English. She just refuses to do it because she knows she'll be put in a lab somewhere and studied. Like she communicates so clearly with her eyes and her actions. Anyway, sorry. That was really poor timing.
that's okay.
So your dad was scheduled for a quadruple bypass?
Triple bypass.
Triple
surgery.
bypass.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a few days after.
And that's an urgent situation. Like he can't
That was
postpone
scheduled.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
he could hold it off for
Yeah.
No.
oh, I'll just do it next
Let
month.
me just
No.
hang on for my
Yeah,
daughter.
no, that's, yeah.
Were you guys at least in the same hospital?
We were not too far from each other. So
Okay.
between my father and I, we were probably about like 10 minutes or less away from each other.
Oh, that's okay.
My sister was spending between my sister and my mom, they were just tag team seeing me and my father simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I regained consciousness on the third week, that's when I was able to just check in with my dad.
The third week. Wow.
Yeah. So at minimum for any aneurysm is 21 days. So after 14 days.
Wait, I'm sorry, clarify that. Meaning what? At minimum 21 days.
So that
Recovery time or
21 days is the minimum to keep a patient in the hospital to determine whether they need assisted rehabilitation or not.
Oh, wow.
so you were in there for 3 weeks in the hospital?
Yes.
Wow.
3
Okay.
weeks. So within the first 2 weeks, because I was in this drug coma, I lost 20 pounds
Wow.
being bedridden from atrophy. So I lost muscle and fat. I dropped down from 125 to 105, which is insane. It's like skin and bones.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the third week when I woke up, I had to rehabilitate myself. I wasn't able to, I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to write. I was talking to a speech therapist to make sure that like my brain was operating not normally, but enough to understand and retain a little bit of information while I was speaking to them and doing little exercises. So, and my sister gave me like a notebook so that I could see if I could handwrite again or see how I could put words from my brain and translate it onto paper. So.
How aware were you? And what was your mindset like? Were you fully realizing what disabilities you were having to go through? Were you realizing the severity of how different things were, and were you scared that it may not come back, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah.
What was your mindset like?
So there was one moment, as I'm thinking about it now, within the 2 weeks I was, the first 2 weeks I was in the hospital, there was a moment where I woke up in the middle of the night and I freaked out. I didn't know where I was at. I saw the tubes in my body, the oxygen going through. I pulled everything out. And from that freak out moment, the nurses put these gloves on my hands. I call them boxing gloves. And then they weren't restraints, but they were like Velcro ties, and they like Velcroed my hands and wrists to the bed so that I don't pull anything out again. So when I woke up on the third week, I was like, why am I stuck to the bed?
Did you resist it when they were doing that, or were you already knocked out by that point?
I was still knocked out, but when I regained consciousness, I was really perplexed because my wrists are attached to the bed. What's going on?
God.
I need to scratch my nose.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You know,
That's a
like
Red alert. I need to scratch my nose.
yeah.
help.
Okay, so forgive me, I'm slow. When you had the freak out and you pulled the tubes and everything, it was during sort of an unconscious period of time.
Yeah,
Like you woke up kind of from a drug coma
exactly.
and just started freaking out.
Yeah, I was like, what are these items on my body? What are they doing here? I want them out. And I just
And you
pulled
just
everything
pulled them out. And
Yeah.
then they got you drugged back up and calmed down and restrained you while you
It's
were
like a scene out of a movie.
holy hell.
God.
And when you
I
woke
kind of
up,
wish I could replay that moment
I
because
bet.
it's
Well, I'm sure you can for your own brain. Just, like, God.
was there any family with you when that happened?
my sister was there.
So she can recall it?
Yeah, and what I ultimately want to do is just kind of do an interview with every person that was a part of this recovery, just to see
Yeah.
a play-by-play of how my reactions were. But there were a few people that visited me within the first 2 weeks that were very meaningful for me, and it really solidified my relationships with specific individuals that are willing to show up for me
Yeah.
Yeah.
at my lowest of my lowest point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's an interesting
very telling.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
but other than that, during the third week, I had I had one neurologist that would check in on me every day, and all I cared about was riding my motorcycle.
Yeah.
The moment I woke up, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm in this bed, whatever, but when can I get back on my bike and ride my motorcycle again?
Honestly, that's fair. You got the blood for it.
Yeah.
I get
so
it.
every day I asked the neurologist, I was like, hey, he actually owns a double R too. And so does my main neurologist who
Oh, wow.
took
What
care
are
of
the
me.
chances?
Yeah. So they both own double R's as well. So I was like, yes.
They
They
understand.
get
Yes. So they're
Feels-
It's a tribe.
both of the doctors that had taken care of me both ride motorcycles. And
That's amazing.
when I got the final checkup, my sister, at the end of the conversation, she said, hey, doctor, all my sister cares about is whether she could ride her motorcycle or not. He's like, really? You can ride your motorcycle? No way. What'd you ride? I was like, I have a BMW R9T. What do you have? He's like, he said, I have a BMW double R. I'm like, take down my number. Let's go riding. I'm like, yes. It was so refreshing because after that conversation, I told my family, hey, if the person that saved me, that brought me back to life, if he asked me to come out on a motorcycle ride with him, like, will you let me go? They're like, just freaking go.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Not only if the person that saved you, if the doctor that saved me that's even more like.
Can I ask, was he single? Was there any kind of connection there? Is this what they
no.
call a meet cute?
That'd be an amazing story,
My
though.
main
Right?
doctor actually just retired. I think he retired last year. He's traveling right now. I keep inviting him out to the racetrack, so I'm hoping next time I see him, we could finally make it happen.
Lifelong friends.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What track do you go to? Like that photo you showed me, where was that?
That was at Laguna Seca.
Laguna Seca.
So they just had a national race out there for Moto America.
Oh, cool.
And so all the pro racers were out in Monterey. I was up there too, just cheering them on. But the Laguna Seca is iconic for their corkscrew turn, which is the one in the photograph. And it's just like it's much steeper than it looks. I think it's about like a 33 or 30 something foot drop in.
It's pretty great. You can tell from the photo like how they were higher or you were just going down really low. But I can tell the angle was like it was like this. They were shooting down at you like this as you're coming down the road.
Yeah.
Right?
The camera?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there was one angle in particular that he took that really, it really looks like how it feels.
Nice.
It's like so steep where I'm like, yeah, that's the angle that it should be taken at every moment. But
The roller coaster.
it costs like either $500 or $600 a day just to ride at that track.
Let alone everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
to like go out there and do it and get the lesson and all that stuff and the gas, the tires, all the things, what do you think you spend on that a day? to go do that?
So I was volunteering for the track organization, Fast Track Riders. After my aneurysm, I returned to the track. So I had my aneurysm towards the end of July, and I returned in, I think it was November of that year. So when I returned the following year, I attended a few times, but in 2021, they asked me to be a part of their team and volunteer with them. So
That's cool.
since 2021, I've just been actively supporting the team, attending, learning the track, riding with the instructors, riding with pro racers, and just getting as much knowledge as possible. So I was gaining a lot of seat time with the amount of time I was volunteering with them.
That's great.
And so that's why I highly encourage new riders on the track just to utilize the instruction. Like, that's the tool that's going to help you advance your riding as an individual, but also help you be a little bit more assertive when you're riding on the streets.
I was going to say, it's going to help with just, especially just even canyon riding, just like even just through here and stuff, like all that, just knowing where to go out, to lean in, where your apex is at, your breaking points, like all those things. It's like a track. I mean, it's,
you apply it to your daily riding.
Yeah.
And
It's amazing.
it helps you so much. So I got addicted to that.
That's
It sounds
great.
like it.
Yeah. But
Did you have any lingering brain fog?
oh yeah.
Yeah. So
A lot.
so compare it.
It's funny how like my voice gets deep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's a deep experience. I'm asking from my experience with cancer. I had insane brain fog that I'm still working through. I still do, exercises and things to test my memory, and even this is a huge part of my healing, being able to talk and then recall and all of that. So I'm fascinated by it. I want to know your tricks. I want to know how how long did you deal with it, and what are your best hacks?
I felt that like in the beginning, the brain fog was so severe that I had to take a step back from everything that I love doing, because I got really frustrated knowing that I wasn't able to articulate things as, like, I was mentally strong, but I was physically weak. And there was one moment in particular where I was with my sister pushing a shopping cart. I'm like, okay, I'm strong. I could do this. I could walk. And then all of a sudden I feel this sharp pain shooting up my legs. And I looked my sister dead in the eye and I said, "Sister, I can't walk." And within that moment, she was like, okay. She grabbed the pillow, put the pillow in the shopping cart. My cute little niece is just sitting in the shopping cart, like watching me. But, little moments like that where I felt stronger mentally and physically weak, it took probably about like 6 months to start regaining, regaining that muscle, regaining that fat. It was really hard for me to gain that 20 pounds back after losing it. No matter how much I eat, it's like my metabolism just went into hyperdrive, and everything that I consumed just disappeared and didn't stay in my body.
Did you have like leaky gut going on? That happened with me, where I was eating all the right things to survive, but I wasn't absorbing any nutrition or anything. I was just getting sicker and sicker because I wasn't absorbing anything and I didn't know it. Was that part of deteriorating in the losing the 20 pounds? It's so hard on your body to lay there like that.
I didn't have any leaking, but which I really wish I was able to talk to like a nutritionist during that,
right?
To be able to diagnose or like determine ways I can put the weight back on. So that was a bit of a battle for me, trying to figure out at what capacity or what it takes or what I need to eat to regain that fat and muscle again. But like I said earlier, there were moments where I felt so physically weak where I played the piano. So music was very difficult for me to just be able to play that again.
Sure.
And everything that I memorized, couldn't play it. I sat at a piano and I've cried just staring at a piano because as much as I wanted to play it, I couldn't retain all the information my brain had previously with all the songs that I memorized.
You couldn't access it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So translating all that there was a huge roadblock in my brain where just being able to play music again was, it just
Like you
wouldn't allow
couldn't
me
reach
to.
it.
Yeah. It was like there was a roadblock in my brain that wouldn't allow me to reignite that information and translate it to my hands to play the music that I used to play. So
How long did that last? Excuse me.
I
Or are you still working through
think
it?
it was within that first 6 months after I got out of the hospital, and I just had to step away from everything for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I had a box of items of, I call it a treasure chest, but it had like photographs and letters and little things for me to jog my memory, because even if I've done like the most reading I've ever done in a long time while I was sitting in my hospital bed for a week. I read like 2.5 books, but that's where I felt like, okay, my brain works. I remember what I read.
Nice.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's little exercises like that just help me jog my brain back again and see how it retains information. And I had to relearn. It's like putting your brain on factory reset and figuring out
Wow.
how your brain retains information, whether it's through writing, through voice, through photographs. So I had to dive into each learning technique to determine what my brain can allow me to retain.
So was that considered physical therapy? Did you
That was
have
part of it.
assistance with it? Were you with
So when I
someone
was,
guiding you through it?
So during the last week, I had to go on walks with a physical therapist. So they were guiding me how to walk again. My balance was off, so putting one foot in front of the other was difficult, and balancing, like transitioning my weight between each foot, was difficult, and it was very heart-wrenching because I felt this black hole of depression sinking in, and like, oh man, if I can't even walk again, like it's like I gotta start all over again. This is really sad.
Were there moments where when you thought that you you just kind of gave up and just like, I'm not even gonna, like, just fuck this. It's not happening. Did you ever have that, or did you
There
just?
were moments where I had to pause and reassess and reevaluate and be more accepting of what I couldn't control. So there were moments where I felt unable to execute, whether it's taking a walk around the block or lifting, I don't know, 10, 15 pound dumbbells and just doing like a set of curls.
Sure.
So I had to really listen to my body and see how it reacts to everything and slowly rebuild myself back up again. And there were definitely a few moments where I was really frustrated and angry and aggravated because I couldn't complete certain tasks, and I'll fall into this slump of, I spent a lot of time on my sister's couch in her guest bedroom because of that depression that was instilled upon me, being unable to execute certain movements or being able to move a certain way that my brain will tell me, yeah, you could throw this ball, and when I try to throw the ball, it just doesn't go the direction I want it to be.
Wow, that's
Or if
scary.
I try to ride a skateboard, every normal day-to-day activities that I was really good at, all of a sudden I'm relearning how to do it again. And watching films, like that part of the brain it's kind of deleted. It feels like I'm watching every film as if I watched it for the first time again. So
Well, that's kind of cool. I mean,
my reactions are a little extraordinary, but they're just like over the top. They're like, wow, you're like so fascinated, and you're like, your reactions are so like, yeah, I feel like I'm a kid watching this again because
Yeah.
I don't remember the storyline. So,
Wow.
but
sorry.
that's okay.
Do you feel you're at full capacity again now, or do you feel different than before?
So, what I've learned over the years, I started attending aneurysm support groups because when I re-entered the community of like motorcycles and friends, and when I just felt so detached from everyone, and I felt disabled because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you had your brain stroke, like, I'm sorry that happened. And I kept reminding them, I was like, hey, guess what, like, that my brain stroke was a reality check for me. It reminded me that I wasn't living and taking care of myself. I wasn't nourishing my body as I should have. And I don't advise people to really empathize on those shortcomings. I'd prefer for people to celebrate the victories, like the victory of being alive, be able to move, to be able to ride a motorcycle. However, I still felt a little detachment from taking an intermission from the community. So within that time, I had to figure out a way to allow my brain to refill that battery. Because when your battery is totally depleted, and my tank was like on the last drop of the bottom of being on the reserve, I had to learn that my brain is not going to be fully operational to 100%. I'm not going to be the same person that I was 5 years ago. And I had to be very accepting of my new norms, whether it's getting fatigued very easily doing physical activities, or if I'm doing certain tasks while I'm at work and it's overstimulating and it's depleting my like brain energy. I feel that my brain is now at full capacity. I probably lost like 10% of my full brain capacity after my stroke.
I mean, a lot of people die from this, so it's really, you're a miracle.
Yeah, it's recognized as a silent killer, and I learned about a few people who didn't make it after me.
Yeah.
And I just learned recently that someone had an aneurysm in their heart.
Oh God.
So having a ruptured, like triple, quadruple surgery because you have a rupture in one of the arteries that are that's attached to your heart is insane.
Yeah.
But I've attended aneurysm support groups because I did want to feel like I'm part of a community and I could, relate to other individuals that are going through it.
Yeah.
Going through the struggles of trying to find yourself again. But through those support groups, I learned that I thought one brain aneurysm is insane, but I've met people that have multiple aneurysms and have major deficits. And it really comes down to the location of the aneurysm and how the duration of how long it was bleeding. So that's what creates the deficits. If you have a brain bleed that's exceeding an hour or half hour to an hour, that's where it starts shutting down certain parts of your body, because the amount of blood that you've lost. And it's very fascinating to me how the brain operates. I'm trying to reach out to a few neurology teams to see if I could do some studies with them. But yeah, the aneurysm is definitely a silent killer, and if you don't catch it in advance, people die from it. And thankfully, I managed to survive, and I've met a few people not too long ago who either lost a loved one because they didn't make it, or they're currently taking care of someone, or they know of someone that has an aneurysm. And I feel like I've evolved into like an advocate to educating people more about aneurysms. And when I had my checkup with my with a doctor recently, I reminded him about getting the brain scan. He's like, "Oh, I think I need to get my brain scan. That's important." Like, yeah, well, that's what keeps you alive. You got to take care of your brain. So,
And I never would have thought to do that.
Have like a routine brain scan.
Yeah. I mean, even other things, like my sister had breast cancer, and when we went in there, they were like, "You and your dad should go get scanned to make sure, because it could be
hereditary."
Yeah, and I didn't do it. I just it's funny, the things that
it's very personal.
Should be so obvious.
Well, it's personal though. We don't all feel comfortable in doctor office situations or hospital,
Right.
It's
That's
personal.
true.
It's very personal. I know. Okay. My friend's mom had 2 brain aneurysms, and she was able to catch her second one because she remembered how the first one felt. And she said it literally felt like there was a shower that turned on in her head.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's how she caught the second one. So obviously it must be just a matter of where it's located. And then the other person that I know is Kelly's sister-in-law. She had a brain aneurysm, and they didn't think she was going to make it. It was a very, very close call. But she's very different now. She has no empathy. She lost empathy. So it's very bizarre. She's a character. She's a character. It's very bizarre to talk to her because she's different, but she's a fully functioning adult. There's no obvious handicap, but she's very vulnerable in a lot of situations in this wild world. And her husband passed away last year. So she's now out there. I think about how it must be for her because, for example, you're at the mall. She likes to go to the mall. And, there's all these up sales at the cash register, right?
Yeah.
She is so gullible. She's a pure target for up sales. So she just somebody tells her this $500 shampoo is the best, and she has to have it. She believes them.
Yeah, that's
It's
slippery
crazy.
slope right there.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough because there's nobody to monitor her.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah. So it's, we're always kind of checking in with her, like, what's up with you today?
What did you buy?
What did you do?
Who told you what? Yeah, it's interesting. But I do know that more often, or I believe, I could be wrong, but a lot of people usually don't make it through. Yeah. I guess we just kind of covered that. There's my brain fog kicking in.
That's okay. Well, I like the fact that you mentioned your friend, you mentioned that she changed with empathy. Is that what you said?
She lost empathy, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I felt that it's different. Well, it's definitely different with everyone, but when I had my brain aneurysm, mine was amplified. So
Your empathy was?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, not just empathy, but it's like my senses of emotion was amplified. My sense of hearing, and touch and smell, and it got a little overwhelming at first because there's like a specific decibel where like my nieces are like screaming in the car.
Oh God, yeah.
And I'm like covering my ears. I'm like, you guys need to make it stop. It's so loud.
I bet.
Like aerosol smell, like aerosol sprays.
So specific.
Way too strong for my nose. Like, you know those car scents that are in a can?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot. The
So-
worst.
I've never
like,
tried. It's like cat
my-
food for a car. It's weird. I just don't get it.
It's
It's not cute. Not cute.
Yeah.
And-
So my brother had one in the car, and I just got out of the hospital, but
Oh no. And you didn't know
I
yet.
sat in his car probably a few days after, and I just looked over at my brother. I'm like, "What is that smell?" He's like, are you talking about my car scent? I'm like, yeah, that is way too strong. And it was like a cherry scent.
Oh,
Of
no.
course. It's like cough medicine.
But it smelled like you had ripped the can open and just shoved it up my nostril.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
how
Yeah.
like intense my sense of smell was. But
I'm very sensitive to those. In fact, I wish there was when you order an Uber, I wish there was a notification you could request 0 scent.
that'd be cool.
And I do
That'd be-
actually
yeah.
ask them. I get in the car, or I'll ask them ahead of time. You order it, and I'll send a message and say, if you have air fresheners, please put them in the trunk or get rid of them for me, or I have to call somebody else. I can't handle it.
Or like throw it into a Ziploc bag or something, conceal
Yeah.
it.
Look, nobody needs it. Just keep your car clean. You
Exactly.
don't need a bunch of toxic fake smells in there.
Don't be dirty.
Don't be dirty. Don't be dirty.
Anytime I rent a car too, I'll
Keep your
use like
stink
the Turo
out of the
app,
car.
and that's the first thing I'm say. If I'm cleaning the car for you now, okay, please don't use any air fresheners when you clean the car. Please, I'm begging you. I
Yeah.
cannot handle it.
Yeah,
Leave the
don't
in and
need
out
'em.
smell. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep it clean. It's all good.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah, I totally empathize with you there. That's what, senses, the sensory overload of certain things.
Do you
Can
still have
knock
that going
you-
on?
It's not as
Oh God, and I'm
Amplified.
burning Palo Santo right in your nose.
oh no, that's fine.
Is
but
it?
it's so if you had Axe spray,
Oh, I can't handle that. It just smells like a teenage locker room.
every person that has some sort of aerosol sprayed scent on them, even some people will just spritz like 1 or 2, like it feels like they've shoved like the nozzle of the spray up my nostrils and
Oh,
just
man.
like
It's interesting. So you're not as sensitive to natural scents then.
it's only aerosols
Wow.
or like those artificial
Yeah,
cans or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the artificial scents. I mean, they are intense, and they're super bad for you. I don't know if you know that, but
I'm aware.
people that breathe candles, scented candles that are not made of beeswax or organic things, natural things, they don't, it's very toxic for you. It's not good for you. It's not good for your brain.
You're inhaling chemicals.
Yeah,
It's not
you
good.
are. And it's amazing how we get so stuck on that kind of stuff. Scented laundry soaps.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the hardest time with that.
No.
I have such a hard time with
Wow. You guys are complex.
that. I know. We're really high maintenance.
What really, we're talking about senses here. What really got to me was how my body reacts to music.
Oh God, please elaborate.
Yeah.
That's pretty intriguing.
It's kind of, I don't know if you've ever like attended raves or anything like that, but it's like so amplified to the point where like the hairs on my arms stick up. I get goosebumps. I get chills, and like in like
Like the full vibration.
I feel it
You
in
said you feel the sounds you said? Is that what you said?
I feel the sounds in my body, like my tendons, my muscles,
Wow.
they contract to the music, and it's so like euphoric to the point where like I went to a live jazz performance, and it was so reminiscent of me playing jazz music in middle school, and I felt it like not only outside but inside of me was so overwhelming and so strong. I looked over at my friend. I said, "You know what? I'm probably gonna start like crying of joy because
That's so cool.
every ounce,
beautiful.
every
Yeah.
ounce of my body is feeling the music in my bones, in my tendons, in my ligaments,
But
like,
not in a painful way, in a
No.
joyful way.
yeah,
Amazing.
It sounds like you're doing like a ecstasy, like Molly cocktail.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's like a
Sorry.
natural high, I guess.
have you
Yeah.
considered doing any kind of quantum healing? Any energetic healing? I mean, not that you'd want to change that. Do you find yourself dancing all the time because of that that heightened joy with music, I'd be the dancing queen.
Yeah, no, you will find me occasionally dancing at stoplights on a bike.
I was gonna say,
I don't even wait for the stoplights. I'm always dancing.
I don't know. My head went there, but do you ever, when you're on the bike, have music on and it messes with you riding, or is it not that severe?
It's not that severe. It was more like live performances that really I'm not crying in my helmet of joy because the song is like like an orchestra making the tears fall down.
I gotta pull over and
right, the wind might just splash all over my face shield. I gotta wipe it off.
God.
But quantum healing might, I mean, its intention is to rebalance everything. Have you tried anything? Any sound or light therapy?
I've done sound baths.
Aren't they great?
Yeah, there was one at one of the job sites I was working previously. They would have a ceremony in the grass area in front of the building, which was really cool. They'll do a session of yoga followed by a sound bath. And I've attended a few sound bath yoga events out in Santa Monica, right in a grassy area before the beach.
Oh, I know what you mean. They have they'll do weekend workout things there too, right? Like all that. I've always wanted to. That's so cool.
We used to work out
do it
there
on
actually.
Saturday mornings.
Is it
It's like a little triangle park kind of thing? Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Where that is. We used to work out there with somebody.
How long is it normally? How long is the?
I was only able to stay for an hour for the yoga session, and I'm not sure how long the sound bath was, but I had to excuse myself with a few of my friends because they went hiking before the yoga, and they were hurting for food. They're like, we gotta go.
Sounds like me.
We're getting hangry. Sounds nice and all, but
it's not.
now I'm hearing the sounds of my stomach.
Yeah, it's time for tacos.
Yeah.
I should, if you're interested, I'll connect you with, one of the places I go to continue to heal is all quantum healing. It's all, you put on headphones and through energy, through sound, and there's lights too. It's a zen out situation, and it all just recalibrates things in your body, and it's phenomenal. I think you would really enjoy healing in that non-invasive. It's fascinating. It's just
I'd love to try that.
Fascinating.
You're talking about Q?
Yeah. And there's other places like Q360 that I'm just learning about. It's not such a rarity now. That when I don't know if you know, I went to Mexico for my big turnaround when at stage 4. The place there is what turned me around, and they had a room there too that they called the quiet room. And you would spend an hour a day in the quiet room, and in the quiet room they have all the same equipment that they have at 360. So it's like there's a thing called the beamer, just a mat that you lay on that gets your circulation, keeps everything, your microcirculation moving, because it all slows down once you hit 21, right? So that's
I'm so enlightened. Do you see the smile on my face? Sign me up.
There's some, if you're still, maybe you don't need further, growth in this area, but I think it helps everybody, because it's systemic healing. It's not, I had cancer and it only fixes what I'm working with. It's systemic. Whatever is out of balance in your body, its intention is to bring you back into balance.
I feel that it would be essential for everyone, whether they're not only healing, but just
preventative,
getting through, I'm going through trauma, right? I'm healing through my past traumas, whether with energy, energy, relationships, interactions.
Okay, I'm going to
voices,
hook you up.
Sounds.
Oh, wow.
So
I mean, you seem like an open person, you know, like to try things and all that. So
Yeah.
that's really it's cool
No,
to.
you're a good candidate for it.
We talked about that
A lot
the
of
other day.
people don't think it's, they're like, what? It's woo woo. Like, that's some bullshit. How could that work? People are
No.
turned off to it because it's not Western medicine. It's not in your face like that. It's literally non-invasive. But people forget we are energy.
Mm-hmm.
And our energy gets out of balance. And the theory, even with cancer in this way, is the cells were turned on by something, by emotional baggage, by whatever. And that's part of healing, in my opinion. That's a holistic thing. You heal, you figure out what caused you to get sick to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and you heal from the ground up. I mean, from the in out. You heal all of it. You don't just put a Band-Aid on whatever that one thing is, because then it's still there.
Well,
It's
and
there to
medicine
come
is
back.
medicine is temporary.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So
Like, you could suppress the symptoms momentarily, but it's still going to come back if you're not allowing your body heal.
the good, true healing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we talk
when-
about this. This is partially why I always say this. Like we always say, we're not trying to demonize Western medicine
Mm-hmm.
by any means. There's amazing things that have been done, that will be done,
It
and
saves lives
that
every day.
Of course,
for
100%,
sure.
100%. But in
Like
the
you.
right, yeah. But in the general sense, like when it comes to medications and stuff, the industry's set up to treat you, not heal you. There's a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to feed itself.
It's sick
And the
care,
doctors
not
and
health care.
Yeah. And so we look
Yeah.
into the backside, it's like it gets distracting, and how it's run. There's amazing things to be used for sure, but it's a little distracting, a little bit like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how they keep you coming
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's
Not always,
it's a
but
whole machine.
Yeah.
But just to finish that thought,
Yeah.
they say, something triggered cancer cells to turn on. We all have them. It's just a matter of whether they get ignited during your lifetime or not.
Is that right? We all have them like
We
that?
all have them. You have cancer cells in your body, but they're dormant unless you have symptoms. And in quantum healing, the goal is to turn them off. You're not killing anything. You started with them. They're yours. You're just turning them back off. And just to think about that it just simplifies everything, right? To
Yeah.
understand how that works. And once you can align your mind with your healing, think about like a mechanic putting together a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
How different you ride, because the ball bearings are how everything's connected, and why that might need oil. Like you know your machine in and
Yeah.
out. It's the same for your body. So once you align with how you're healing, imagine the power in your hands right there.
Is what you said about, because I always tell people that when they ask about either you or I've brought up quantum healing before in the past, is what you just said, how you turn them off, is that quantum healing? Is that part of that? Is that what that is? Such a mind fuck, that whole thing. I mean, seriously.
It's fascinating. A mindfuck sounds
think
tricky.
everyone-
I mean,
should
totally.
try it.
I just mean like, what'd you say?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
no, go ahead.
I think everyone should try it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
But you have to be open to it, because if you don't believe in it, you're wasting your time. But I believe that about everything that you do with relation to healing. If you don't believe in it,
Mm-hmm.
you're just
Yeah, that's true.
spinning. You're spinning your wheels.
Going through the
You're
motions.
not going to fully heal. You might live a little longer, but if you want to fully heal, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to understand everything. You have to dig deep, figure out why. Why am I sick? Now I'm going to address that issue on top of all the things that have broken down along the way. And that's holistic. Your mind, your body, your soul, nutrition, all of it at once. That's what the beautiful thing about Sanoviv was, the place in Mexico. You had all of that. You had massage, so you have human touch. You have nutritionists checking in with you every single day and adjusting everything according to your blood work that day. And when you have
Incredible.
you have your blood work done, that's just a moment in time. It changes the next moment, right? So them checking it so often really gives you the answers of where to go. And it's your body telling the doctors what it needs. And they're reading it and listening. It's phenomenal and fascinating. It's an amazing place. And I highly, highly recommend, if you know anyone suffering from Lyme's disease, cancer, like they treat all kinds of things. You can just go for a week of detox and realignment, and it's a phenomenal place.
If you had to nutshell explain that place, just like elevator pitch it, what would you say about it?
Ugh, just go.
No, but really, of course.
Like, just trust me, look at me, go, you know?
But really, if someone said, what do they do?
I would show you a picture of me when I walked in and a picture of me 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. But
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how so many people have asked me and only 2 are going, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Because when it comes to wellness and healing specifically, especially chronic disease, there's so much fear involved that you can't really tell anyone what to do. They have to get to it on their own. They have to make a decision on their own. Everything else is just chatter. So that's part of my intention with this podcast, is to remind people to listen to their instincts, connect, do things with intention and consciousness, because it's your choice. You don't have to go to your family doctor because your mom signed you up with them 30 years ago. Like, you have choices, and you should exercise them, especially when it comes to your health and your ideas about your body. Right?
That's a good point. It's well said.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, so with your experience, it sounds like a tricky one when it comes to doctors, because you weren't coherent through a lot of it. So can you even check in about the doctors and your experience there? Did you love the hospital? Did you hate it? Did you feel safe? You know, all these things I can answer to for the most part, but I wonder from your angle, do you have to ask your sister a lot of questions, or do you have any triggers? Do you have anything that reminds you?
It's good that you mentioned triggers, because through healing, because my sense of emotion was amplified, there were moments like of frustration, like even while I was like riding my motorcycle, and I've dropped my bike a couple times, and you know, just that like initial reaction of everyone just like, oh, again, oh my gosh, really, like, what's wrong with you? And then of course I'm like in the corner, like crying in my helmet because I'm not strong enough to pick up my bike, and I can't manipulate it as well as I used to. But
I understand.
With my sister being present, like during the recovery and like the final week of me having like full consciousness, it was very helpful, because it reassured me that within the time that I wasn't awake, she checked in with the nurses and the doctors and made sure that they're providing me with the best care. If I didn't have an additional person around to just monitor my progress, whether it's my sister or my mom or my brother or anyone, I would feel so helpless, and I would probably get in a dark place really fast.
Yeah.
So with my family being present through my recovery, it's really solidified our bond as a whole family.
Beautiful.
And it also brought out a lot of humor out of us, because we're like, great. We're all getting older. We're all on blood pressure medication. Like, me and my siblings, we use the same medication. Like, we learned that last year during like a family reunion. We're like, great, if someone's running short on pills, like, we got each other. Little things like that, I felt not only having the reassurance of my family helping me through my healing, but also reaching out to other individuals that were present while I wasn't fully awake really mattered to me as well, because they would tell, like, I had my boss showed up, and I had another employee that I worked with, and my sister told me, like, he dropped to his knees and he started bawling his eyes out.
Wow.
Because he really cared about you as an individual. This was before I opened the restaurant. Like, I was part of the construction company that was, you know, tying in the last few things before the restaurant opened, because I had a connection with all of them. But it made me realize how important it is to invest in individuals that are willing to not only advocate for you, but willing to find you at your darkest points and be by your side, because not everyone's going to be there. I had to filter out a lot of people over time, because that genuine care of whether it was I looked good on Instagram, whatever, it didn't matter on social media. And over time, I reached out to certain individuals and I had to dig a little bit deeper and be like, hey, I need to know, I don't care about how you're doing. I need to know how you're healing. Because diving into the deep end of everyone is healing through trauma, pain, just everyone's going through something.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
The human condition is different now, right? Can I ask a question about your blood pressure medication? Is that, do they tell you need to be on it for the rest of your life because you've had a brain aneurysm, or an aneurysm in general, I guess?
Because I have a natural high blood pressure and it's hereditary in my family, they advise that I stay on it to keep it regulated. Otherwise, if my blood pressure goes too high, there are risks of me potentially having another aneurysm. So it's important to stay on top of my medication, which is, thankfully, I'm not, carrying around a pill box and popping like a dozen pills every day. It's just one medication. And I was afraid when I got out of the hospital, because they started me on, I think like a half a dozen. And
Different pills?
yeah.
Eesh.
And at first it like dawned on me, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the person carrying the pill box around and like, hold on guys, let me just pop these pills real quick before I eat my meal. And thankfully they had to taper off some of the medications, and they're like, you're not taking all these medications for the rest of your life. You're just going to be taking one to regulate your blood pressure.
See, I'd be really fascinated to see if you could get off that through quantum healing.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think so. I know there are certain areas that I still need to improve, including rest and exercise. But
That's all of us.
Yeah.
when
I'm with you there. Not to diminish yours, but I'm totally
so
with you there.
I know I still need improvement in those two particular departments, but everywhere else, when it comes to nourishment and hydration and every avenue and element you need to nurture your body, it's important to create that balance. And before I had my aneurysm, like, I just totally neglected everything. I woke up every morning like I got hit by a bus, just very, very unhealthy. And thankfully, I've reached a turning point where I would never allow myself to neglect myself as severely as I did in the past.
Can I ask you about the commercial we shot together? What happened that day? Or would you rather not talk about it? Is it okay to talk about that?
That's fine.
Okay. So we did.
Because you stared at me dead in the eye before. So
I was worried about you. It was scary to me
Well,
because
it
I
was-
knew about your aneurysm. So you okay?
yeah.
Stop breaking stuff,
I know. I just
Really
gotta make sure the
aggressive.
furniture
She's very
is
strong.
working, is staying intact here.
Yeah.
It was way too hot.
It was
so
very
I
hot.
don't, since my aneurysm, I just don't handle heat very well. I don't ventilate. I just absorb heat. So if I'm not,
Was it since, or just you've always been like that and you kind of didn't really understand that?
I
Because
didn't
it sounds like it
realize-
was the sort of the start of it all, wasn't it?
it was part of the beginning, and I didn't realize how,
Like you're prone to heat stroke? Is that
not necessarily. I didn't get it very frequently after the stroke, but it took some time, like, for me to realize shortly after I had my aneurysm, did I realize that my body just doesn't handle heat very well.
Yeah.
And if I overheat and I don't cool off, or, don't drink enough or hydrate enough, then it just boils over. And then that's where you witness me borderline heat stroke.
She was boiling over.
Yeah, and I
God.
got nauseous. We made it to Rock Inn, and we were filming a segment. But when I got there, we grabbed lunch, we're eating, and I just I felt nauseous. And I was forcing myself to eat because I was like, I know I need to eat. Like, it's hot, I got to drink. But once you reach this point of
No return.
yeah, when it's too late,
Yeah.
that's when, the signs start showing. And I was
Now you're not going just
covered in
downhill.
Yeah, I was like, my face was sweating, and I didn't look good. And I looked at you dead in the eye, and then I just grabbed the cup.
I was like, take this.
It was
And
like,
she went,
I was like, I don't feel good. I took the cup. It was like one of those things you'd see in a film in slow motion.
it was almost like we rehearsed it. It was
But
so weird.
It
Oh my
was
God.
It was very bizarre.
it was graceful.
yeah, it was super graceful.
Me vomiting in a cup, like
At
sounds cute.
the
as I'm
lunch
staring
table.
at her.
It was bizarre.
I'm
Like,
not-
I was like, what's happening? Are you okay? And I knew she had the brain aneurysm
Yeah.
situation. And I'm like, I'm getting kind of worried about you. I'm a mom, so I
I
tune
think-
into things like that.
I was really amazed at how I was able to keep that concealed.
Yeah, no one else really knew what was going on.
Well, but like,
What did you do with the cup of vomit?
Put it in Gavin salad.
Oh, look,
no, but I grabbed the cup. I don't mean to repeat all of this, but like I grabbed the cup, I like gracefully vomited in the cup.
It was
And
the most graceful vomit I've ever witnessed.
nothing splattered, nothing
Didn't
like
smell. It wasn't gross.
Exactly.
It
Wow.
was literally like someone just poured a cup of milk or something. It was just like all of a sudden it's full.
Don't use the word milk right now.
Well, it was. It was
Are you
kind of
lactose
like.
intolerant?
No, it just sounds disgusting.
Yeah,
Like
it
hot milk.
Oh.
But it was.
Hot milk.
It was like. It was like eggnog.
Oh.
Eggnog. Jeez. No.
Oh no, not in mid-July.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
But when I had that moment, I knew I was overheating.
Oh.
So I stepped aside, and everyone advised, they're like, hey, maybe you should lie down. And I was like, if I lie down and I like fall asleep, like it's over. Not fall asleep like I'll be out.
Right.
It would be hard for me to regroup and have enough strength to operate my motorcycle afterwards.
Right.
So that's why I just sat there. They filmed the segment. And
We were at the Rock Inn, not
Yeah.
the Rock Store. So we were deep, on our way.
we went through some twisties just to get there.
It was a
fun
really
road.
long day, and it was hot as fuck. And you were wearing leather.
You guys don't
and
ride with camelbacks on longer rides?
Not on a commercial.
No, just to have it with you, take it off at the commercial, but just
We had
ride with it.
headsets attached to us. But
No, we were
camera.
filming. Yeah,
Oh,
it was
you
a
were filming.
rough. It was
Okay.
it was kind of a rough day. It was a lot. It was a very ambitious day on bikes in over 100-degree
Sounds like it.
weather. It was
Well, yeah,
with a lot of people.
The
It was-
last day of filming was, I think we all got into like a bit of a daze
yeah,
as
for
we
sure.
were riding in the heat. I glanced over. I was like, "Don't fall asleep."
Yeah,
and we're
it
like
was-
on our tanks, like, oh.
It was.
God, it sounds
was,
miserable.
It was a little intense.
was-
It wasn't the. Yeah. Anyway.
But I didn't
Moving on.
handle heat
Yeah.
very well, and so within the shoot, it was challenging for me to do certain segments. But I mean, we made it through.
Have you had episodes like that since then?
Just gonna ask that.
Just overheating and needing to, maybe not to the point of vomiting, but knowing it's time to check in.
At the track, I developed a system that works for me riding in hot conditions. So I would have to, so each hour it's a 20-minute session. So within each hour, I'll do one session, drink a liter of water. Well, in the order of me doing a session, going straight to the bathroom, drinking a liter of water, And I did that repetitively, but also taking extra like electrolytes and snacks in between just to give me enough energy
Absorbing
to
it.
sustain through riding on the track in hot conditions.
These are your head to toe leather and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's not.
Like, you'll know you're dehydrated when, like, well, I know my body, when I'm dehydrated, I start to sweat in my helmet. And, you know, it's to the point where, like, you're afraid it might drip into your eye and, like, burn your eye
Oh,
because
wow.
it's just like, I mean,
Yeah. No,
the sweat isn't that intense, but I'm just
No, it's-
over
But it's,
Yeah.
But
it's a
the
deal
sensation
breaker.
of you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, it's dripping and it might get into my eye and
Yeah.
it's boiling and it's hot.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
that's real.
Yeah, that's a track day deal breaker. That could ruin your day for sure.
When I was at Sturgis in 2022, I just kept the cooling towel on. I wrapped the towel in, like, put some ice cubes in there, wrapped the towel, kept it around my neck, kept it on my head. Since the neck, it radiates to the rest of your body. So I just had to readjust how to keep my body temperature regulated in hot climates. But thankfully, I haven't had any heat stroke episodes. But
Good.
there was one time last year where I was very close, but I just sat under a fan and let my friends keep riding in the dirt. And I was like, I'd love to keep riding, but it's way too hot. And if I'm sitting under the heat for too long, I just start boiling. And
No, it's good.
But-
You know your triggers.
I start to recognize how
the
my body
signs.
reacts to certain conditions. And, you know, I have to put my foot down and just warn everyone, be like, hey, you guys, like.
Well,
I'm
just
kinda-
setting boundaries. You know,
Exactly.
just boundaries, which is so
boundaries
important.
in general, like not only with my own body, but like with individuals, groups, energies.
Good point.
We know something about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's
Yeah.
important.
It's a radical lifestyle change once you've gone through something like that.
Yeah.
You have to stay tuned in to everything. You have to live intentionally with consciousness, right? I'm curious about the groups that you engage with, the aneurysm groups, and like what's a big takeaway you've gotten from that? What's the most important thing to you that you're getting from being in that group?
So the group, it's great because it's all ages, and they'll have a guest speaker for about 20 minutes or so. I've been a guest speaker with aneurysm support group with UCLA because the neurology team hosts one once a quarter. I feel like it's not enough, so I'll participate in other aneurysm support groups. But it's important to see eye to eye with other individuals that are also recovering from aneurysms, and just have a sense of feeling like you belong somewhere. Because once I had my aneurysm, I felt like an outcast, and you know, I felt like I was never going to be the same again, and no one could relate and be like, oh yeah, like I feel you on that. I'm like, but do you really? Like, have you had a brain stroke? Like, it's hard to kind of see eye to eye to individuals if they haven't experienced what you've gone through.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
joining a group of individuals that have similar conditions through therapy, recovery, like determining a new methodology of how to navigate their life, like post aneurysm, it's fascinating for me because I'm also going through it too, and I could relate to them. Like,
Yeah.
okay. And when I've had a few sessions where I've been the guest speaker, a few people will just reach out to me like after the meeting. They're like, I'm so fascinated that you ride motorcycles. Like, I've been a passenger. I would love to do that again. Like, you're so inspirational. And it's very fulfilling to know that there are people that could relate, but they also like find inspiration from you, and also want to talk a little bit more about your condition. And it's uplifting. It really makes me feel that I could contribute to a community of individuals that feel like they're struggling and they don't feel like they belong and they feel like they're in a dark place and they have no one to talk to. Like, it's good to open a group that's available for survivors so that you can feel a part of it and you can feel normal and you can be open and transparent about how you feel. And you know, when you're going through the turmoil of emotions and just relearning things and seeking guidance from other individuals that could refer you to more sources for help.
I can only imagine for you too, like showing up and being in that capacity, you must have felt a sense of purpose also, right?
Absolutely.
Which I think we're all looking for that. So to have that fed a little bit, it's got to be pretty cool.
Well, aneurysms don't have a sufficient amount of funding for education. So being an advocate for aneurysms allows me to, like you said, just feel that sense of purpose. A part of me wanted to ultimately start my own foundation at some point. And as I'm learning more and more about other foundations and groups that are hosting these aneurysm support groups, I'm more inclined to ultimately start my own because
That's great.
there's not enough.
You should, yeah.
Can you shout out a couple that you really have found? You know, I mean, not to compete with the one you're going to start at some point, but is there any you want to shout out just in case someone is looking for something like that?
UCLA neurology team does a really good job with allowing the speakers to have an open conversation with everyone and answer questions. So that I really like that one. I actively participate in that one the most. The B Foundation also does them as well. I think they do those on like Thursdays, but I would say between those two would be like what I would highly recommend the most. I also have a few friends who that are caretakers of survivors, and they're kind of lost because they're unsure of how they are gonna care for these people, their loved ones who are recovering, and they're going through the thick of it, and they could be irrational or they could be sad, and it's hard to uplift another person if you can't necessarily like see them eye to eye entirely and physically. So
I actually have a question. Sorry, like 3 questions in a row.
No, you're good.
One other question, because like
Who's counting?
I guess me. What an asshole. One of my best friends, including her, one of my other best friends got into an accident, motorcycle accident.
okay.
And he had to get his leg amputated.
Not me.
Not you, obviously. And something I never really thought about came up through the process of his recovery, and I'm curious how you would maybe give advice in this space. Like for friends and family, you're very lucky. You have family that really showed up. Your sister was amazing. Like your tight core community sounds pretty amazing, and that's incredible. But for friends that are in your network of friends, your closer friends, or anybody else, do you have any advice on how to show up when someone's going through something like that? My thought, just from dealing with my best friends, was just show up. You just show up, because some will get scared to make the phone call. Like maybe it's too soon to call. Should wait a month or two. Or what are some things you can offer to people at home that might be having someone going through a traumatic experience? How do you show up for your people?
Just consult with them. Just ask them, hey, I'd love to see you, or even just show up unannounced. Like, hey, I'm here. What my friends did for me while I was in the hospital, they brought food. They brought food for me. They're like, you're eating crap in the hospital. We're bringing you burritos or bringing you donuts. Like, bring something that they like. Even if it's like an activity that they like to do. Like, hey, let's have a few friends over and play some card games, or just find something that they want to do, activity, or go out on a hike, or not even go on a hike, but just go somewhere. Just reach out and say, hey, I'd love to spend some time with you, because that's so meaningful for a person to reach out. And like you said, A lot of people are really hesitant to reach out because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, I don't know how they feel, but it won't hurt until you ask.
Absolutely. And I think it's just simple stuff too, because it can get awkward. Like when your friend's in the hospital for so long, or your family, whoever's in the hospital, and you show up, there's only so much to talk about. At a certain point, you've asked all the questions. How are you feeling? What's surgery? You've gone through all the things.
Yeah.
So like, just again, going back to just showing up. Like we were in the hospital, and it came to a point where, and I'm sure Rita will hear this episode and like have some insight, I didn't know what to say anymore at a certain point. I didn't want to bring up certain things, and I didn't want to dance around things and make it obvious that I was like scared of it. So I just would show up with food, and we'd watch Louis C.K. for a couple hours.
Nice.
And that was
Comedy.
it. We just have tacos and watch Louis C.K. and just laugh our asses off. And that was like, by the time it was over, I was like, dude, I'm going to pass out. I'm so tired. Thank you for coming. And that was perfect. Like,
Yeah.
just showing up.
The thing to remember, a lot of people don't show up because they're afraid they're going to say or do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is something I'm guilty of in the past. The thing to remember, somebody who's in a situation they're in the hospital for a month, or it's a chronic illness, they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
They want to break from talking about it.
They want to feel normal again.
Don't worry about
Exactly.
showing up and knowing the right things to ask. They don't want to talk about it. That's
Yeah.
why it's your turn. Come in and alleviate that for them. Just come and be, hang out, watch
Yeah.
TV, laugh.
Yeah.
That's such incredible medicine. I that's my favorite thing. I love that you just said, even Louis C.K. I know he's gnarly, but I love him. I like stand-up comedy, funny movies. Maybe it has to be more gentle, but the less you have to talk about what's happening, the more relief you get. Because how many times you have to, maybe not in your specific scenario, but what I went through was a new doctor would walk in the room and it was like they never read a chart. And you have to tell your story over and over again. And you're like, why
Like
don't you
broken
guys
record.
talk to each other?
Yeah.
Like, who are you people? I don't even understand. How does this work here? Because I just told 5 different people the same thing. Why are you coming in and uninformed when you're the head guy that they should have all been reporting to? Like, I don't want to talk about
Has
this
to be
again.
infuriating, I'm
aggravating.
sure.
Oh my God, it was, and I had insane brain fog, 0 energy, couldn't, hold nutrition or process nutrition. I lost all the muscle and fat and I was skin and all of that. Nothing was connecting. And just to have somebody sit, like all the girls would show up with, all the things. They brought my dog to me one time. She's got a little pass. And yeah, I mean, that's the stuff that was so meaningful.
Showing up.
But definitely food. Bring me my food, because
Oh, yeah.
I'm very particular about what I put in my body most of the time. Not all the time.
I was very guilty.
But food is healing. You can.
It's a love
Food
language.
is, well, it's medicine. It's a love language. It's all the things. So it's very important. Bring them their favorite drink, their favorite soup, whatever, and their pajamas or socks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I had
true.
leg warmers that was the most amazing thing, because you always had to have the robe. And then my friend Stacy brought me the pole dance leg warmers, where it like covers everything except your toes, and it
'Cause
goes
they're
all
only
the
for
way.
pole dancing.
I don't know. That's what she told me. But they went all the way up your thigh, so I could go into all the X-ray things and whatever, and not even have to like have a blanket. I get cold in hospitals. I don't like being in AC all the time. And I would just always be cold. And those leg warmers, man, they were my favorite thing. And they were also a conversation piece throughout the hospital. Everyone wanted to talk about them. Those leg warmers are brilliant. Like I was like, that's right, I got leg warmers.
Leg warmers.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You want some. I'll tell my friend. She'll hook you up.
It's
Bring
awesome.
laughter into it,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Bring laughter into it. And familiar things, I'm sure with the brain injury, something familiar is probably going to help you find your way back to yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And even while I was in the hospital, there were moments, as I was saying, it's important to
be present. My sister and my best friend, I read 2.5 books within the last week. So my sister brought me a book called Present Over Perfect. And when I read that book, it made me value not only the individuals that showed up for me, that like spent some time and sat there, like brought a game or an activity or something to eat, but as she said, something to pull you away from thinking about being in the hospital and dealing with a hospital staff and being a broken record and just being repetitive of what you're saying, but everyone's not listening. It's nice to, as a patient, to pull away from that momentarily. And even if you wanted your, as a suggestion to see your friend, like bring a new activity, like, hey, I want you to try this. Like, well, tell me what you think about it. Or it's good to allow them your undivided attention, not be on your phone. Just
Good
even if
point.
it's just like 30 minutes or an hour,
Yeah.
just focus on them. Like, hey, I'd love to learn about either an adventure you went on, place you want to travel to. Like, tell me all about it. Just to pull them away from what's currently in front of them is way more meaningful than asking them how they're doing. Like, you don't want to know how they're doing.
Right.
You have to provide a way to get them out of that feeling so that they're actually engaging and stimulated and enjoying your company.
Stimulated. That's a great word.
There was a couple times too I noticed, and I try not to overthink it in the moment, but like there were quiet moments even when we're sitting together, and I was just like, that's fine, we're gonna sit together. And like and that was even really cool because he just sits alone all day as it is by himself for hours and days, day and night, over and over again, rinse repeat. It's just alone in that bed. And to have a friend sit with you and have it be quiet, but you're together to share that silence was like a really cool thing too. I was like, I thought it'd be awkward, and it was beautiful. It was like really, and then we would just start talking, and that was fine.
The answers come when you're silent, usually.
No, it was great.
And you can, in that situation, I would imagine you could trust that he's going to speak up when he wants to say something, when something,
100%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of feeling like you have to force,
Or fill the quiet moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
let the energy just flow, just flow, just be together. Yeah, it's powerful. That's tribe, man. We're all tribe. We need each other, and if we don't connect like this now and talk through things, we're not going to make it through some of these things, So I'm so grateful that you came all the way out here to Topanga.
Yeah.
Is there anything else
Happy to
that
be
we'd
here.
like to cover?
I'd like to know just maybe like, how many years ago was this happened?
So it was in 2019,
2019.
So
Okay.
was
Like
like
yesterday.
Yeah.
It's
almost
so-
5 years ago.
So over the course of the last 5 years, what are some things that, like, if you could tell people that are either going through it or that might at some point, just some tools, some things that you've realized, not even tools, things you've realized that you'd like people to know, whether it's pains or joys or things that you did for yourself, like just some things you picked up along the way.
You mentioned something earlier that really caught my attention, and it's important to set boundaries. With having a limited capacity of energy and a lot of people would ask me previously, how long did it take for you to recover to be 100% again? And I've accepted the fact that, guess what? I'm not going to reach 100% of how I was 5 years ago before my aneurysm. And I had to be a little bit more optimistic about it. So what I advise for individuals that are either going through it or taking care of a person or, grieving through a loss, I recommend people to attend other groups or find the time within themselves to rebuild themselves, learn a new hobby. And I personally enjoy riding motorcycles, and I don't advise everyone to ride motorcycles because,
Agreed.
but you find and hone in onto
things and activities that really brings you the most joy. And if you dedicate, whether it's like a half hour, 20 minutes, an hour into that particular activity, it allows you to really listen to yourself and also celebrate the small victories of your growth over time. And I really enjoy the growth and the evolution of, coming from a low point in my life, being, having depression and anxiety, to a person that's more forgiving and accepting of being able to not allow yourself to be in control of what you can't control, and being more accepting of creating the boundaries for the energies that you want to allow into your life, and also close the door on the energies that you no longer allow back into it.
Very good. Yeah.
So just all that, no big deal. Just all this. No, that was great.
It's easier said than done.
No,
but the
it's
boundaries,
one thing at a time.
The boundaries have definitely played a major role in my life within this past year, because the day after Christmas last year, I attended a funeral. So grief, this year so far, played a major role in my life. I lost a friend, a colleague, an uncle, a friend's father, like just losing people over time.
Yeah.
And trying to heal through grief is tough because the grief comes and goes in waves, and you don't have enough time set for yourself to accept that loss and grieve through that loss. So there will be moments, as I'm allowing time to myself to really heal through grief. Those are moments that I value and treasure the most, but I also have to be patient with myself to be a little bit more accepting and forgiving of my healing.
Where you're at.
Yeah. In order to allow more time and energy from other people into my life, I have to restore myself and make sure that I have enough time for myself before I allow other people in.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
I love that you said celebrate the small wins. It's something that you've heard me repeat many times.
Absolutely.
When I was, digging my way back to life, that's the small wins felt like huge victories. Is that for you too?
They
Yeah,
are.
you just want to throw a
like
huge party.
Yeah, because you're so tired. You're so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
Yeah.
Like you just can't wait to feel good again. And so any deep breath you can take, or a new food that you even to want to eat again. What? Those are the biggest things. And I became the cheerleader in Mexico for all these things, and telling people, just remember, let's dance. Let's go out on the lawn and have a moon party tonight. Let's celebrate that. Good for you. You did that,
You know what it is too? Little wins, that term almost should be retired, because, and maybe not, but
small victories.
Well, small victories, that whole concept, because to me, and I haven't gone through anything that, whatever, knock on wood, but just in life in general, the little wins are the stackers.
They're just wins.
So they're
right?
huge. No.
Don't even call them little.
The little wins are
wins.
huge because they create the big win. They create the overall trajectory. They create the hindsight of holy shit, look where those little wins that is the win. That is the journey, is the win.
You're 100% right.
So it's people, whatever. No, that's fucking huge.
Yeah, remove the word little. It's a win.
It's a win.
It's a win.
It's a win. It's a stacker, man.
There's no judgment on the size of it.
It needs to be celebrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does. It's very important to keep joy, have your boundaries for yourself, and celebrate these things, and stay conscious and go through your gut, right?
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
I'm good if you are.
I'm good. Are you good?
Are you good?
I'm so good.
Are you so good?
She's so good. We love having
Love
you.
it.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you for
having
coming.
me.
It was
This
great.
was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very good. Okay. So
Is there where we can find you? Is that kind of, we should be offering any of that stuff, or we're not doing that?
Well, I think, no, we're going to link.
Yeah, we'll link all your
the
stuff.
things, the aneurysm groups that you mentioned.
Mhm.
We'll link, and we'll link your Instagram. Do you have any other social sites? It's just Instagram?
I'm currently in the process of building my own brand and website.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's in progress.
Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm submitting an entry for the Vana Film Fest.
No
Oh,
way.
wow.
Nice.
So I
Congratulations.
Thank you. I begin filming next month.
Wow.
I thought I saw you talking about something about filming. Okay, so I'm excited.
So
And I
next month, I'm
assume
gonna-
it'll be on your Instagram, the information on all of that.
When it's ready.
When it's ready.
We're gonna film all of August. Editing will be done in September, and the submission due date is October 15th. So
Okay.
Can we ask a short synopsis? Like what's the project about in your elevator pitch?
so it's focusing on my aneurysm,
Okay.
but more importantly, it'll have me translating how I'm recovering my body in relation to my machine.
That's
and
amazing.
Operating my machine. So there will be a segment of me on the road track, and then there will be a segment of me on the dirt training facility, and trying to find a common ground for motorcyclists and educate people and inform them how important it is to nurture your bodies in order to operate your machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So-
an
That's great.
amazing
Really
mission.
cool. So we'll definitely do a follow-up episode with you, and we'll have you back on to go over everything. And that'll be
Maybe she
awesome.
doesn't want to see you again.
that's probably fair. Most don't. That feels valid. That's on brand. That feels good. Thank you, Tana. You're the best.
I just know.
Literally go to hell immediately. Sick of you.
That's terrible.
Welcome to our zoo.
Welcome to hell.
Excellent.
No, there's nothing but love here. We love each
Yeah,
other very
yeah,
much.
very much.
Yeah, very honored to have Ben at my side through this podcast and telling the stories and bringing people together like you to share the human condition. Yeah,
Thank you.
it was an honor.
This is amazing.
Happy trails.
Happy trails.
Happy trails. Ride safe.
Thanks. You too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.